This video does have a disclaimer. It is intended for educational, informative, and entertainment purposes only. Some of the content herein contains suggestive themes. It is never my intent to disrespect any individual spoken about or watching my videos. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi friends, I would like to welcome you to my channel and hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today we will be discussing the case of Richard and Stacey Schoeck. Richard Schoeck was born June 25th, 1963 in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. Richard was a hot air balloon enthusiast, loved motorcycles, and had an art degree from Auburn University. Stacey was born August 19th, 1974 in Florida. They met, and in 2007 they eloped. This would make Stacey's fifth husband. Richard would go on to adopt two of three of Stacey's boys from a previous marriage. Richard enjoyed being the Boy Scout leader for the Boy Scout troops. It is said that Stacey was the breadwinner, as she was the administrator for Georgia Spine and Neurosurgery Center in DeKalb County, Georgia, while Richard would stay home and cook and look after the house and the boys. Stacey also had some rental properties, so she did very well for herself as far as money is concerned. It was getting close to Valentine's Day in 2010, and Stacey has suggested that she and Richard go to Belton Bridge Park in Lula, Georgia, and exchange Valentine cards and maybe have a little rendezvous. It was a secluded area with just a boat ramp, so not a lot of foot traffic. So I'm assuming Richard thought it was a great idea, and so that was their plan for Valentine's that year. Stacey had gotten off of work, and she had gone to her grandparents' house in Cleveland, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half away from their house. Now, Richard and Stacey lived in Snellville, Georgia. So Stacey had to look after her grandparents, who both needed 24-hour-a-day care. They had hired nurses, but Stacey still had to drive up and take care of things for them. Well, on this particular day, Richard went, and he had cooked dinner for Stacey and her grandparents. And the night nurse was actually running late, so Stacey had told Richard to go on and go to Belton Bridge Park and wait on her, and she would leave as soon as the nurse got there. So Richard leaves ahead of Stacey. Stacey arrived to the park around 9 p.m. She pulls in, and her headlights see Richard's truck. Richard's door is open, and he's laying on the ground. Richard has been shot. Stacey calls 911.
He's been what? He's been shot! He is dead!
Letting them know, my husband's been shot. Please, get here. So the police arrive, and they look at the scene. There was $40 in the console. Richard had his wedding ring, his watch, his wallet, and a 40,000 truck left in a very secluded area still idling. So they assumed, hey, this is not a robbery. The next thing they noticed was 2 shots to the abdomen, 2 shots to the face, 1 shot to the chest. This is absolute overkill. Next, they noticed because the ground was very soft mud, that it was perfect for holding the tire track molds. And they could tell that there were 3 sets of tire tracks. There was Richard's, there was Stacey's, and there was a set of an unidentified vehicle that had been there. Eventually, this set of tracks would be linked to Goodyear Integrity tires, which they found belonged to a lot of vehicles. While they were still on the scene, Stacey admits that she's been having an affair for several years with a guy named Juan Reyes. Now, Juan worked with Stacey, but it's because Stacey got him a job being a surgical technician with no experience, no schooling. In fact, he had been a security guard at a hotel prior to his job now as a surgical technician. They did find Juan at his place of employment the next day and brought him in for questioning. It came out that Stacey paid for his truck, his phone. They took vacations together. She even rented an apartment where they would have their rendezvous. Not to mention, he also lived in one of her rental properties. She showered him with gifts. I guess you could say that she was his sugar mama. Now, they had asked Juan what his alibi was, and he stated he had gone with his 7-year-old son to Blockbuster and got a movie. And that night, he stayed over at his estranged wife's house with their son, and he even slept in the same bed with her that evening.
Me and my son went up to Blockbuster. We ate dinner about 7:30, and by 10:30 I was in bed.
He agreed to take a polygraph test, and the test results came back inconclusive. However, when they brought Juan's estranged wife in for questioning, this was the time, though she had assumed, this was the time that she found out that Stacey and Juan had been having an affair for years. So the investigators thought, well, if she knows anything, she's going to tell it now. Well, she pretty much corroborated Juan's story. The movie was rented. He stayed over. And he did sleep with her that night in the same bed.
6 and 7:30. Then he came home, he ate dinner in the room. I laid down, we went to bed.
What time was that?
I know we were watching the 10:30 news.
Okay.
The 10 o'clock, I think it was the 10 o'clock. Last time I looked at the time, it was like 10:37.
During this investigation, the IT person at Stacey's employment called the investigators stating he went to clean out Stacey's spam box, and usually it was full. It was completely empty for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He did tell them, however, that these all have backups. So the investigators got a warrant and were able to access 4,000 emails that Stacey had deleted. Now, this money was actually being drawn from a real estate account that the clinic owned. Then there was another request to transfer of $1,100 to Lenitra Ross. So the investigators say, I think we need to pay Lenitra Ross a visit. And that's exactly what they do. So they ask Lenitra, can you please explain these transfers? And she does. She says that this was for house repairs, that she and Stacey had made a deal that if she got the repairs done, that Stacey would reimburse her. And there was a major water leak, and she said that she could provide receipts and that it totaled to be about $10,000. So the police are stumped once again. They have their hunches, but they can't prove anything just yet. So then they question Connie Hearn. Now, Connie is Stacey's cousin. She was questioning the 2009 Chevrolet Impala that her grandparents owned. It was nowhere to be found. Now, Stacey was, I guess, tasked with the job of selling the vehicle, and then the money given to the grandparents for all of those medical fees for the nurses and the 24-hour care that they needed. Well, Stacey said that she sold the car for $14,000, but there is no record of her giving that money to her grandparents. Now, when they went to go question Lenitra, there was a 2009 Impala parked in the yard. So now back to Lenitra's house we go. Okay, where did you get the car? The car was signed over to Reggie Coleman. Now, Reggie was Lenitra's boyfriend / baby daddy, and his name was also Mr. Results, as he was a personal trainer. He had done workshops in the clinic. So Stacey knew him. So they bring Reggie and Lenitra in for questioning. And of course, they both deny knowing anything about what had happened to Richard. And finally, after Stacey, is done playing up the grieving widow, and because by this time they had already had Richard's funeral services. On February the 20th, they actually had his service, and he was cremated. Stacey wanted to take his remains up in a hot air balloon because he loved them so, and even his family was starting to get suspicious of Stacey, and they were wondering what was taking so long, to bring Stacey in or bring Stacey down. They knew. But it had to be orchestrated very carefully. So they called this Operation Tangled Web because they had to serve 7 warrants in 3 different counties for 3 suspects without any one of them letting on to the other one so they would have an opportunity to run. So first, they get Reggie at the house. They pulled Lenitra over on a traffic stop. And last but not least, they got Stacey at her place of employment. However, Stacey was tipped off by someone at her job, and they told her to run. So what she did was locked herself up in a room that had card access, and only she and a couple of other employees had the cards. However, after a little while of doing that, she finally came out. Now, Reggie and Lenitra still denying anything. In fact, Lenitra says she doesn't know why she's there. And so they tell Stacey, we're going for the death penalty. So in order to take the death penalty off the table and just go for life without the possibility of parole, Stacey would have to testify against the other 2. And she agreed. And here's what happened. In January, Stacey and Lenitra had met for lunch. Stacey had confided in Lenitra, saying that Reggie needs to die. That her son had told her, you don't know what he does to me when you're not here. Now, it has been said that Stacey was molested when she was younger, and she assumed that's what her son was trying to tell her. So then Lenitra says, well, Reggie, he'll do it. In fact, that's what he does on the side for extra money. He does contracts. So, Stacey and Reggie talk about it. He agrees to do it for $10,000 and for her to sign over that 2009 Chevrolet Impala. Now, for Lenitra being the middleman, she would get deeded the rental house that she's currently living in. So Stacey had decided that it needed to be in a secluded area, and it needed to look like a robbery with a single gunshot to the head. So before leaving her grandparents' house to go towards Belton Park, Stacey had gotten a text from Lenitra that says, I forgot to tell you I will be coming in late tomorrow. By the way, happy Valentine's Day. Now, this was the code that the job had been done. So Stacey leaves and she gets there, and then she noticed that, okay, of course Richard is dead, but that Reggie botched it up. And those are her words from her interview. Botched it up. Instead of the single gunshot, there were 2 to the face, 2 to the abdomen, 1 to the chest. It was an overkill. Those were the cops' words. And he had taken nothing. So, obviously, I agree with Stacey. He had botched it up.
Supposed to be a robbery. That's what he had said. It was supposed to be 1 shot to the head. I said, I don't want him to suffer.
So all 3 were charged with malice murder, and all 3 were given life without the possibility of parole. Reggie was even given an additional 5 years for firearm charges. So when her son had told her, "You don't know what he does to me when you're not here," what he was telling her was that he's more restrictive on what he could do. He wasn't allowed to do certain things. In other words, he's getting on my nerves. Not he's molesting me. So it is thought that, she just wanted Richard gone anyway. And that she actually wanted to be with Juan Reyes. Now, I have read reports of life insurance, but one said 500,000, one said 700,000. So we'll assume there was at least a $500,000 motive as well. But alas, they are all behind bars for the rest of their lives. And I hope that gave Richard and his family some type of comfort. So, my friends, I hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what you waiting on? We'll have more videos to come every week. And if you haven't checked out any previous ones, go ahead and check those out too. I hope you all have a great day, evening, and I will see you on the next one.